Honzo, slyšíš mě? Nazdar Honziku, jak se daří? Já co zkouším říkat a nevím, jestli se slyšíme. Super, super. Moje premiéra s OBS. More loud? Okay, I will try to be more loud. Is it better now, Tomáš? Ok, díky moc za test. 5 minut ještě dáme. What about now? Is it better, Hansa? Great. We will beat the OSB or OBS. Great. I'm really lucky that somebody comes. Is it a code? Could you read the code now on the screen share, or should it be bigger, do you think? Okay, great. Thanks guys for testing. If you will have some questions, please put it to the Slack. I will check it on my phone and I will try to answer you. I think we can start, that we should not wait to everybody. So, hi guys, I really like to show some code examples how to work with utility CSS Tailwind. But firstly, I would like to show maybe some CSS principles, HTML principles, how we are currently working with the code. And yeah, on the first, I prepared some very short presentation with some code pieces, and then I would like to show you how to code with the Tailwind in some very simple Vue project. And the link to the Vue project is on this screen. It's simple on my GitHub repository, and there is indeed Tailwind project. You can clone it if you would like to try something to make on your own. So firstly, few maybe words about how we can work with CSS and HTML. The first approach how we can work is that the CSS depends on the HTML. It was maybe the approach of the Bootstrap free version, and it was some approach maybe in the past. It's not much common in these days, but sometimes you can see it. As you can see, we have some component with some author information about some person and some CSS style which is based directly on HTML. So if you would like to, if somebody changed the HTML, the CSS will not be really valid anymore. So sometimes you can see it on some projects, some pieces of this code, because it's very easy to add some new styling for some HTML pieces of code if you don't want to put there some new class. The second approach is maybe more common, that HTML depends on CSS. You have some classes in your HTML, but you don't care about the HTML structure. It's some kind of hooks for CSS styles only, and this is an example of popular BEM methodology, block element modifier, that is mostly used. It's quite okay to work in this way, to style component in this way, but if you would like to add some new part of component, you have to prepare some new CSS class, and then you have to add some new classes. Also, there could be the problem when you have some class which has some semantics, like information about the author, but you have some very similar component which differs in only small pieces, like preview of some article, and there are some ways how to work with it. You can simply prepare the new component which will be very similar or mostly the same, and you simply copy all of the code which you already have for the author component and put it to the article preview. You can a little bit hack it also with some CSS preprocessors by extend and put their code here in this way, but there is a third way. You can name your component without any semantics, so it will be very common naming. You can use it there anywhere, but then you have no semantic link between the content and between the CSS. This is the way how mostly maybe Bootstrap or other UI frameworks works. So they have some basic components, and that's it. But the typical problem is that you have one component, like action list, which is maybe some kind of footer of some component, and you have two buttons here, some primary buttons for submit action and some cancel button. And you are using this component, this action list, in inside two different components in two different contexts. And this is quite okay, but the problem starts, and this is some kind of styling, that you have some aligning of the buttons in the component, and the problem starts when you would like to, in one component, have a little bit different styling. So maybe in one component you would like to align it to the left, and in a second component you would like to align it to the right. And then you have to change it to some separate component, or you have to make some styles which will be based on the context. So the one component will be styled differently based on a place where it's used. Mostly it ends that with some small utility class which you will add there, some text left, text right, text center, like you know it from the Bootstrap, or with some align left, align right, which are on this example. So you are mixing some component styling with some utility classes. And I would like to show you how we are working on a project where are only utility classes, because it has some advantages, also some disadvantages, but yeah, you will see. This is the link to the GitHub to some very simple Vue project, because I am not a big front-end developer. I'm mostly working with the CSS and UI, so please don't judge me about it, but it's a very simple project which has some header component, some landing hero, big image with some title, some list of articles, and some kind of footer. It should looks like, I will show the screen how it maybe could looks like. There is some simple wireframe how the project could looks like, that we have some header, we have some big image with some button, and we have some list of articles, some kind of flats, and some footer. On a mobile it's very simply below. So I will start my project, and the components are really plain HTML with no styling currently. There is in header there is simple navigation, and I will how it will looks like. So this is how it looks like in a browser. I will show it on the mobile maybe first. We could be mobile first. So some header, some big image, which is the same as the image for the first article, some links and buttons, and some simple footer with the address. This is very simple structure for some very simple page. And how can we style it with the utility CSS? I'm working on a project with the Tailwind CSS, so I will be show the stuff in this framework, but there are some others which could be used. So firstly I will show how I'm working, and then we will go deeply how it's configured, how it's working behind, and how can we maybe fix some issues there. So firstly I will simply show how can development could be fast there, and then we will go maybe deeply about the configuration and how it's integrated into some project. The naming of the utility CSS class, I hope that you already know what the utility CSS is. Is it styling which is based only on utility classes, small classes which are doing only one CSS thing. So no complexity here, no overrides, no nesting. And if you are using the Tailwind, they have very great documentation on their webpage, so you can simply want some maybe background color for your header. So I will find some real cool background color which is already there in some color scheme. And if you are working with this framework few days, it's very easy to use, because the naming is very similar to standard CSS. So this is the class for the background color. We can try to check if something there. Yeah, we have gray background in our header. Then we should add some spacing there. The spacing utility classes in Tailwind are very similar to the utility classes in the new Bootstrap 4. So I can simply add the padding, which will be 1 rem, so around 16 pixels. And we should add color for the link, which is in the header. And yeah, that's it. We have some header done. Now we can check this big thing, this landing. And here we can put this part of code to the absolute position, because we would like to have it over the image. And as you can see, it's very similar when as you are writing classic CSS. For centering the object in the middle, we will use the flex, because maybe it's a simplest way how to do it. And we will add some opacity to the image. And for sure, because we are working with absolute position, we have to set the relative to the parent section. Yeah, now we have title in the middle. We have some kind of button also in the middle. We can a little bit handle it. And we can add some styles for the button. And we will check how it looks like. Yeah, we have some kind of button. We have some big header there. We also can add the hover styles. To this by this column there. So hover and background color, and we have it. So this is a very simple header, and now we can work with some list of properties which we already have there. I have component articles. There is some very simple list of some kind of articles with some names, and component article item, which is there. So firstly, we can style the component article item. We can put there some border, some border, rounded border around, and some spacing. Spacing we should add to the content. It will looks better, and we can add there some bottom spacing, bottom margin to components. And here we have similar component button. We can reuse the code which we already have there, and but we will shortly go back if we can do it in some better way, this button component. And some bottom spacing for this article item, and the footer is very similar to header. We can put there only some background there. For the article section, we only add some spacing and we align the title to the center. And now we can check how it looks like. We have some card with the image, with the title, some text, button, and footer. So currently we have some very simple page for the mobile, and if we would like to go to the responsive, so show the articles side by side, maybe 3 articles per 1 row, we can use flex. And the media queries in Tailwind, they are working also similarly like the Hoover. So I simply select the breakpoint, which are very similar to Bootstrap, SM, MD, and I will add some styles for this. And we also have to add some styles to the article. So now we will check how it looks like, and there we have a really nice list with the articles there. And yeah, maybe we can add the half of the spacing to avoid the margins around. So some simple negative margin around. Yeah, and now that's it. We have very simple page with some responsivity and with some kind of list. And now this is the simplest way we used the preset things from the Tailwind, which was already there, some background colors and some other things. But mostly you would like to configure your things on your own project differently. You would like to work with your own colors or your own breakpoints, and that's very simple how to do it. There is a config file of the Tailwind, and here you can change the color. You can add some new colors, or you can completely remove the setting of the Tailwind and put there your own setting, your own breakpoints, your own colors, your own font sizes, everything you want to put there. So we can do something like this. I am really don't sure which color will be this. and then we can work with buttons and put there your own color. You'll see, and yeah, that's green. So this is the way how to configure your file. You simply add all things which you want to the config file for the Tailwind. You can work with your own breakpoints, you can work with your own colors, font sizes. You can set up your style guide here. So this is one big benefit because if you are working on every project, then every developer can set your own font sizes, and sometimes you can see that every font size is very different. Maybe you can we can check the CN Jobs web, how it's working, how much font sizes are there or how much colors are there. And as you can see that there is 32 unique colors, 19 background colors, 40 unique font sizes, rem, some percents, some m, or some pixels. So the Tailwind is the way how to avoid this, because you could work only with some presets of font sizes, presets of margins, presets of background colors, and every other things. And how to avoid some duplicity of the code? You can see that we used the button on the 2 places. So maybe you can make some own component in the view, which will be only the button. And the second way how to work with this is to add some custom code there, and you can add some custom component like button, and you can, in this custom component, you can use all these styles there. So I can simply add the button class, semicolon, expected, so this works. Yesterday it was the hover thing, and you can use simply the button here, and yeah, we have button, and we can reuse the button also here, and we can only maybe there add some our own spacing and change the things there, and now we have this component on one place. Mostly if you are working with the utility CSS, and if you are talking about the utility CSS, a lot of people say, oh, that's the inline style, but that's not true, because in inline style you can use everything you want. There is no style guide behind, no presets behind, no logic there. So the Tailwind is a thing which you really helps to improve your speed of your development, because you are simply working only inside the class. When the project is growing, the CSS is same. It's not growing, and yeah, sometimes you can work with very long list of classes there, which could be annoying. But you can solve it too with your own components. That's one way. And on a real project, we are sometimes have to add some custom style there, because you can't do everything by Tailwind, because sometimes you have to work with some pseudo elements like before, after, or some complicated gradients, and then it's more simple to use it with some custom CSS there. We are using it currently on one project, I think for 1.5 years or 2 years, and I hope that everybody, all developers there, are happy with it. Now it's maybe time, if you would like to ask something, just please ask in a Slack and put the question there, and I will try to answer your questions there. So if there is no questions on me, I'm really glad that you watched this indeed. I hope that I will see you personally in Prague office, if you are sitting in a Prague office, and we can talk maybe deeply there. Regarding the CSS size of the Tailwind, the Tailwind itself mostly is combined with one plugin which is named Purge CSS, and this Purge CSS plugin, which is mostly integrated inside clean unused CSS in a file. But on our project, which we are currently running, we have one part of project static generated on some kind of backend side, and the second half project is on the front end, so we can't use this. So then the only way how to minimize the CSS file size is about the configuration file. So we are really thinking which breakpoints we will use, which colors, which font sizes, and we are trying to minimize this thing by a really fit configuration. Regarding the competitor of the Tailwind, there is one which is I think which is older, and it's named Tachyons, and it's really very similar. I'm not sure if they have some. Yeah, there are some code how it looks like. For me, is Tailwind maybe more natural in the naming than the Tachyons. Some Tachyons naming is for me a little bit strange, but this is a really big competitor. Yeah. in this project, in Vue, there is a purge inside the view for Tailwind, so Tailwind for Vue, so there is cleaned up during the build. But mostly, if you are using the Tailwind independently, you have to install also the purge. Sometimes it could look like maybe not natural to write a lot of classes into the code. Now we have a very simple setup, but mostly there are 15 classes. But the benefit is when the user knows it or developer knows it, you can simply check the code and you really know how it's working and what it's doing, and it's a little bit push you to work with the really small component with some atomic approach, because you don't want to repeat all this Tailwind stuff when it's in some kind similar. Okay, if that's it, I'm really looking forward to meet you in Prague and we can talk about the Tailwind or CSS stuff deeply. So enjoy the rest of the day, and if you have a question, just put it to the Slack and I will answer there. So have a great day. Bye bye guys.